There is a bridge in Texas that most people have driven over without thinking twice. It carries you across a lake on the east side of Dallas, and for a long time, it did its job well enough. But right now, the state of Texas is spending nearly $1 billion to tear it apart and build something much bigger in its place. $1 billion. For a bridge. That number sounds wild at first, but once you understand what is actually happening here and what is at stake, it starts to make a whole lot of sense. This project is not just about adding a few extra lanes. It is about keeping one of the most important travel corridors in the entire state from becoming a daily disaster. And here is the thing. Even after spending all of that money, there are serious questions about whether it will be enough. Before we get into all of that, if you find videos like this one interesting, go ahead and hit the like button right now. These take a massive amount of research and work to put together, and that support really does matter. And if you want to see more deep dives like this one, hit subscribe so you never miss what comes next. Let's start at the very beginning, because the story of this bridge really starts with a lake that should not even exist. A lake that changed everything back in the early 1960s. Dallas was growing fast. The city needed more water, and city planners had a solution. Build a dam, flood a valley, create a massive reservoir on the eastern edge of the metro area. Construction on the Rockwall County Dam started in 1964, and within 5 years, Lake Ray Hubbard was born. It stretched across miles of land that had previously been wide open ground, and it sat right in the middle of one of the most important east-west travel paths coming out of Dallas. That path had been there for decades. Before interstates, before highways, people moving east out of Dallas largely followed what was then called US Route 67. That road was already getting crowded by the early 1950s. But then the entire country shifted gears. America started building the interstate highway system, and Texas was no exception. Interstate 30 was mapped out and approved, and over time, the old US 67 corridor started being folded into that bigger, faster, more modern system. Parts of the route were upgraded to full interstate standards, with controlled access ramps, higher speed limits, and no traffic lights. As that happened, the corridor split in two. Interstate 30 became the main high-speed regional route. State Highway 66 kept running roughly parallel but stayed at surface level, serving local stops and smaller towns along the way. And right in the middle of all this sat Lake Ray Hubbard. You could not go around it easily. You had to cross it. And Interstate 30 was the crossing that everyone used. Why this one bridge carries so much weight? To really understand why this crossing became such a pressure point, you have to zoom out and look at the whole roadmap around it. Dallas has several major routes feeding traffic around and through the east side of the metro. There is Interstate 635, the big loop road that runs around the north and east sides of the city. There is the President George Bush Turnpike, which connects directly into Interstate 30 right before the lake. And then there are surface roads like US 80 and State Highway 66 that run in roughly the same direction. But here is the thing. On that map, Interstate 30 sits at the top of the food chain. It is limited access. It is built for higher speeds. It is the fastest, most direct path for anyone trying to move east-west across that part of the region. That makes it the obvious choice for a huge number of drivers. If you live out in Rockwall County, which sits just east of the lake, and you need to get to downtown Dallas, North Dallas, Arlington, or Fort Worth, Interstate 30 is very likely part of your trip. There is really no good way around it, and Rockwall County is not staying small. In the 2020 census, the county had about 108,000 people. By July of 2024, that number had jumped to about 137,000. That is a 27% increase in just 4 years. That is not slow, steady growth. That is explosive growth, the kind that overwhelms roads before anybody has time to plan for it. So you have a booming population on one side of a lake, one main bridge to carry them across it, and a corridor that has been showing up on worst congestion lists year after year. Something had to give. What nearly $1 billion actually buys you. What Texas is building here is not just a new coat of paint on an old bridge. This is a complete rebuild of about 17 miles of highway, and the scope of the work changes depending on which part of the corridor you are standing on. On the western side, the project adds shoulders, builds new frontage road bridges, and reworks interchange connections. Through the main lake section, the freeway gets widened from 6 general lanes to 8, and new frontage road bridges get built alongside the main crossing. On the eastern end, the road goes from 4 main lanes to 6, with rebuilt ramps, drainage systems, and supporting bridges throughout. The whole project got split into 3 segments. Segment 1 is already done. Segments 2 and 3 started construction in 2023, and both are expected to wrap up around 2027. Now here is where the engineering gets genuinely mind-bending. Just the bridge portion of this project involves numbers that are hard to get your head around. The 4 new frontage road bridges are held up by 1,089 columns. The deepest of those columns goes 110 feet into the ground. That is deeper than a 10-story building is tall just for one column's foundation. The total bridge deck area for Segment 2 alone comes in at just over 1.74 million square feet. That is the same as 30 football fields laid side by side. And because all of this construction sits right in the middle of a lake, the project also has to dredge 17,000 cubic yards of material from the lake bottom to offset the space the new structures take up in the water. But here is what might be the most important part of the whole project, and it is easy to miss. By building separate frontage road bridges alongside the main interstate crossing, the corridor now has a backup plan. If an accident blocks the main lanes, traffic still has another legal path across the water. Before this project, if something went wrong on the main bridge, the whole corridor could grind to a halt with almost no relief valve. Now there is one. The question nobody wants to answer. So Texas spends nearly $1 billion, builds 30 football fields worth of bridge deck, drills more than 1,000 columns deep into the lake, and widens a 17-mile stretch of one of the state's busiest corridors. Problem solved, right? Not quite. Here is where the real debate begins. The Interstate 30 corridor at Lake Ray Hubbard has made Texas A&M's list of the most congested road segments in the state for multiple years in a row. The delay on this corridor added up to more than 200,000 person-hours lost per mile per year, and the economic cost of that congestion came out to around $57 million annually. Those are enormous numbers, and they are exactly why this project is hard to argue against. Better travel times, fewer accidents crippling the whole corridor, more reliable freight movement. All of that is real and valuable. But here is the uncomfortable truth that traffic engineers have studied for decades. When you make a congested road easier to use, more people use it. Some drivers who had been avoiding the road come back. Some trips that people were skipping start happening again. Some development gets built near the improved road because access is now better. And over time, all of that new activity fills up the new capacity. This idea is called induced demand. It is one of the most debated topics in transportation planning. And it raises a real question for this project. If Rockwall County keeps growing at the pace it has been, how long before the new lanes fill up just like the old ones did? Nobody can say for certain, but the growth patterns suggest that this corridor is not done being tested. The tracks that go nowhere here is something that most people do not know about this corner of the Dallas Metro. There is already a rail line crossing on the east side of the city. The dark blue line, which stands for Dallas Area Rapid Transit, runs from downtown Dallas out to the city of Rowlett. At Rowlett, riders can catch trains into downtown with peak service running every 15 minutes. That is a real alternative for some people who need to cross this part of the region. But here is where it gets interesting. The physical train tracks do not stop at Rowlett. They actually continue east through Rockwall County. The infrastructure is sitting there, but the trains do not run on it. Why not? Because transit service stops where the funding stops. DART is funded through a 1% local sales tax that member cities pay into the system. Rowlett is a member city, Rockwall is not. So the trains run to the edge of the tax base and stop. There are actual tracks in the ground heading east, but no legal authority and no funding to put trains on them. Now, extending service into Rockwall would not be as simple as just flipping a switch. Even the existing Rowlett extension, which opened in 2012, required significant infrastructure work. New power systems, signals, and coordination with freight operations that share that corridor. A new extension east would be a full capital project. It would take years of planning, funding agreements, and political decisions. And even if that extension happened, there is another catch. People living in central or eastern Rockwall County would still need to drive to a station, and to get to the nearest station, they might have to cross the lake anyway, using one of the parallel roads that run alongside Interstate 30. So the transit option is real, but it is not a simple fix. It would require Rockwall to join the DART system, pay into it, and fund new construction. That is a heavy lift, even if the long-term case for it makes sense. The bigger picture step back from the bridge, the columns, the football fields of concrete, and the train tracks that stop at a county line. What is really happening here? Texas is doing what large, fast-growing states have to do. It is spending enormous resources to keep a region moving, while the demand for that movement keeps rising faster than any single solution can absorb. The nearly $1 billion rebuild of this corridor is not a permanent fix. It is the best available answer for right now, designed to buy time and reduce the frequency of bad days on a road that has too many of them. The frontage road bridges add resilience, the wider lanes add capacity, and the full rebuild makes the whole corridor less likely to fall apart when one thing goes wrong. But growth does not stop. Rockwall County will keep adding households. Interstate 30 will keep attracting the commuters, the freight trucks, and the regional travelers who depend on it. At some point, the region will face this same question again, just with more people involved and more at stake. Whether the answer then is more lanes, an extended rail line, better connections to parallel routes, or something nobody has built yet, that is a conversation Texas will need to have sooner rather than later. For now, the cranes are in the lake. The columns are going into the ground. 30 football fields of bridge deck are being laid across the water, and one of the most important crossings in the Dallas metro is being remade from the ground up. The work is real, the need is real, and the clock on how long it lasts started ticking the moment construction began. That is the story of why Dallas is spending nearly $1 billion on a bridge that most people have crossed without ever thinking about. A lake that should not exist, a corridor that carries too much weight, and a massive engineering project trying to stay one step ahead of growth that will not slow down. If you learned something new today, go ahead and hit like, and make sure you are subscribed with notifications on so you never miss the next one. Here is something to think about and leave in the comments. Do you think big road projects like this one are worth the cost? Or should that money go toward building out transit instead? Let's hear what you think.